The stranger I saved from drowning turned out to be an arrogant rich man who refuses to leave me alone. Oh, how I wish I left him to die. Why don't you just go tomorrow? The weather does not look good today. My mother tried desperately to reason with me. I secretly rolled my eyes at her concern. If only she knew that I had worked in worse conditions than this. Even if I wanted to, I could not sit this one out. I needed to get some fish for market day. As the busiest day in this small town, I was counting on the day to ease my financial woes. Being the main breadwinner was not easy. I could never rest knowing that my family was hungry. I put on a self-assured grin and looked at my mom through the screen. I have heard of a spot that has an abundance of fish. I have to get them before the other guy does. You know that he drives up every spot he finds, I reminded her. Ryan, the guy I have taken a dislike to, had better boats and fishing equipment. In the past, Ryan went head-to-head with my father and me. My father was a hard-working immigrant dad. He sold all we had back home and moved us here when we were young. Things did not work out as well as he thought they would. Turns out, the American dream was not as easy to obtain. Even after years of hard work, he had nothing to show for it. We moved to this small fishing town and tried to make it work. My mom and dad moved back home after retirement. I took over. Now, I was the main breadwinner in the family. I had to go out there and do my job even if it brought me discomfort. I finished up the call with my mom, who lectured me about the dangers of going out when there was a chance of a storm. In the end, she told me to call her as soon as I got back home. I loaded up everything I needed and made my way to the fishing boat. I set off for the spot I discovered last week. It had big, beautiful fish that tasted very good. As I silently worked, I hummed. The little bit of sunlight that was present hit my body perfectly. For a while, I was lost in my work. I made good headway after a while. When I checked the time, I realized that I had been out for about 2 hours. The sky was starting to look a bit cloudy, a sign that I had to hurry back home. My stomach sank as I realized that I was going home to an empty house without joy. Every day, it was just like this, a life working, sleeping, and waking up to the same thing over and over again. With a sigh, I pushed all the stressful thoughts at the back of my mind. They appeared so often that I was kind of getting annoyed of them now. As I turned the boat to go back home, I heard a splash. I turned just in time to see something very big fall into the water. Almost immediately, the heavens opened and rain escaped. I decided to make haste before I got caught up in whatever was coming. However, as I made my way in the direction of the object that fell, I realized that it was a person struggling to swim. I looked up and realized that he had fallen from the cliff. Instantly, I jumped into the water and swam to him. I got there just as he stopped struggling and went limp. Once he was in my arms, I started to drag him to the nearest shore. It took about 2 minutes to get there. My muscles ached slightly, but I was barely out of breath. All I cared about was getting this man out of the water. Once we found our way to shore, I tried my best to save his life. To make it easier to help him, I shed his jacket. Momentarily, I noticed that it was a very expensive one. Revealing his shirt also confirmed it. He had the same style as the rich people who came to our small town for recreational activities during summer. But the weather was far from perfect. I couldn't help but wonder what he was doing here. He seemed unresponsive to my resuscitation methods, so I had to perform mouth-to-mouth on him. A couple of minutes into it, he finally started breathing. A lot of water escaped his mouth until nothing else came. "Feeling better?" I asked him, sounding as worried as I felt. He looked at me and smiled lazily. His eyes seemed dazed, which made me think that he was not quite back on planet Earth. "So, angels are indeed real," he sighed, then passed out. Later that night, he, the guy whose name I was yet to get familiar with, was out for the rest of the day. I checked on him every 2 hours. I felt relief when I saw that he was breathing. He was so lucky that I had been there. No one else dared to go out in this weather. I worked on order fulfillment as he slept. Many customers came through to fetch their orders. Some stayed and talked to me for a while, keeping me company. Eventually, I made myself some food to eat and decided to wake the stranger up. I gently shook him until his eyes opened. Even in the dim light, they looked very bright. They unnerved me for some strange reason. I shook off the feeling of uneasiness that was spreading through me and smiled at him. "Welcome back. My name is Ollie. I saw you drowning, so I helped you. Are you feeling okay?" I asked him. He smiled a bit. "Wait, I'm alive?" His eyes watered with what seemed like tears. "Yes, you are. You need to eat something. I hope you like soup. I wish I had something more to offer you," I said. He regarded me for a moment. He looked me up and down as if he was assessing if I was safe or not. A second later, he sat up and took the soup. He gobbled it up in seconds. "More?" I asked. "Yes, I've not had such good food in a while," he confessed. I could not help but snort. I could tell he was rich from the way he dressed and talked. He could afford the best of the best in food. "What?" he asked. "I think that the incident wiped out all your memories." Those words came out of my mouth with no filter at all. He raised an eyebrow at me but said nothing. We were in my house. He was my guest and at my mercy. Why did I feel like I was at his? I scolded myself and went to get him some more soup. I fed him some more, then we sat in silence. "You never told me your name," I commented. "My name is Isaac." This time he was slightly smiling, and his eyes never left my face. "Thank you so much for saving me. I am just still in shock that I am still alive." My confusion must have been reflected on my face because he explained further. "I did not drown. I was pushed. Family drama, yada yada." And then he said nothing more. Obviously, I was shocked by this turn of events. Why would someone want their own family like that? I guess it was true what they said about rich people having crazy families. "Do you need to call the cops, or?" I asked. "No, I just need a place to sleep for the night. I will handle the rest," he said as he ran his hands through his red hair. Now that it was dry, I could see that it was beautifully kept. Red was a good color on him. I found it to be a very beautiful color. It went well with his eyes. While they were blue, they were also lit by a fire I could not explain. I told myself not to get too enamored by what glittered. Pretty boys always meant problems. "Good night, Isaac," I said, and then left the room. A week later. Isaac left the next day while I was sleeping. He wrote a note thanking me for my hospitality. He told me he would never forget it and left his number for me to call if I needed anything. That whole day felt like a fever dream I wanted to get over already. Why would a man who had everything he needed want to help a poor pauper out? I needed peace in my life, and something about him spelled trouble. I had no idea how right I had been. It was now a week since I saved Isaac. The business was going steady, but not that well. I was trying desperately to get the bank to grant me an extension on the loan I had taken to fix my boat 2 months ago. I was struggling to make this month's payment because of the slow business. After an hour on the phone, I slammed it onto the table and sighed. I leaned back into my chair and let out a groan. "I assume you are on the phone with the bank about your loan?" a voice asked. I nearly jumped out of my chair. "What the hell are you doing here?" A terrified scream came out of my mouth. Isaac chuckled and walked closer. He looked much better than the last time I saw him. "I'm sorry for not telling you before I came. I was expecting your message, but you never contacted me. I just wanted to check on you," he smiled sheepishly. I saw a rosy tinge on his cheeks. For someone who was dressed formally and looked like he could buy my whole house and even me, He really had the audacity to look sheepish. "So you thought stalking me was a good idea?" I asked, sounding more annoyed than I felt. "I am so sorry. I wanted to come and thank you for saving my life. I heard you on the phone with the bank a while ago. How much do you need?" He said all of that in one breath. I blinked at him, now offended at his audacity. "Look, I do not know who you are or what you think of yourself, but you do not just spy on people like that. It is rude and creepy." Isaac looked taken aback and hurt. His smile dropped and he looked down. "I am so sorry. You seemed friendly and I just wanted to thank you. You are a good person, one of the few I have encountered in my life. I guess I just don't know how to act right," he shrugged. Of course, that tugged at my heartstrings. "It is too much money. I cannot take it," I simply replied, and believed that was a polite enough answer. Isaac sat in complete silence for a while and then nodded. "Then let me help you out," he offered out of the blue. I was perplexed as to why this rich kid wanted to help me. "Your thanks was enough," I insisted. I wanted nothing from him. All I needed was for him to leave me alone. I had too many problems in my life. The last thing I needed was a stray puppy. See, I knew this man was broken from within now that I was taking a proper look at him. Isaac probably needed some sort of distraction from his life. Unfortunately, I landed in his sight and now he would not leave me alone. I have encountered such lost people before. Each one has taken from me and then left me empty and yearning. Even then, despite my better judgment, I decided to allow him to help me just for the day. If he felt like he owed me, then this was the only way he could help me. "Let us go then," I sighed begrudgingly. I hated working with anyone else besides my dad. Because of this, I did everything alone. I packed everything we needed and then we made our way to my boat. "Okay, you need to listen to my instructions." Aye, aye, Captain," Isaac smiled. He seemed too eager to work. Something within me, some sick part of me, wanted to tire him out. He was too cheerful for his own good. We got to work. I could see that the work was taking a toll on him by midday, so I told him that we needed to take a break. "Good, because I'm starving. I brought some cheese sandwiches," he grinned as he opened his backpack. He handed me some bread and we started eating. "How long have you been staying here?" he asked me, still loudly chewing. "Since I was 14, I bit into the surprisingly good sandwich. I've been coming here for the past 4 years. My family owns a house nearby. That day you rescued me, my sister and I had a fight. I was feeling pretty messed up because of some things she said. I was not thinking when I stood on that cliff," he said sadly. I felt my face scrunch up in confusion. He caught my eye and burst out laughing. "I mean, it hurts less than the time she threw my puppy out. I never saw him again. We have a difficult relationship," he said as he started laughing. Why the hell was he trauma dumping on me? I kept on eating as I looked at him. "I think you need to stop letting her get to you like that. You should put boundaries in place," I said. "Maybe I should. She said some hurtful things about how our father would be disappointed and how spineless I was. This was all because I refused to fire an employee who had made a mistake. Talking about Dad always gets me emotional," he sighed. "How old are you?" I was curious how he was so nonchalant about such a crazy thing happening. He would not be much older than 18. "I am 26. "Wow, I thought you were younger," was all I could say. We went back to working shortly after as we engaged in some small talk. It was mostly him asking me questions about my job. He was very interested in the type of work I did. He was also a good listener and did not make the same mistake twice. When we got home, I realized that we had gotten double the work done. "Did you drive? Can I drop you off at home since you said you live close by? I'm going to work for a while longer." "Do not worry, it's a pretty small distance. Thank you for letting me thank you," he grinned sheepishly. He then turned to leave, but I saw that he had lost his usual preppy step. I thought of how sad he got when he mentioned his family. I bit my tongue. If I did this, he would take it the wrong way. "Wait," I said to him. He waited for me while I looked through my belongings. I finally got what I needed, then went up to him and enclosed my hand in his. Whenever I feel lost, I think of the sea. My mom made this for me before she left. I have two, so I want you to have this one, I explained tentatively. Within a second, he had the shell necklace in his hand. Isaac then shocked me by pulling me in for a hug. It was a very warm hug. I felt it in the depths of my heart. I did not realize how much I missed human interaction until he pulled away. "Goodbye, Ollie, and thank you for this," he grinned, and then walked away. I could not help but smile and hope he was going to be okay. The next weekend, Isaac was standing on my patio when I woke up. "Please take me fishing with you again. I promise I will not trouble you," he begged. "I am not going fishing. I have orders to pack. You can help me. I need to go to the bank on Monday, so I need to get as much done as possible." "I thought you would be more annoyed at me for coming back," he pursed his lips. The truth was that I was relieved to see Isaac well. He had been on my mind all week. Something about him had made me feel like he was not doing well. I was concerned for him and hoped that what happened with his sister would not happen again. Seeing him here was a surprise, but I did not mind it. What I did not realize was that I had made the biggest mistake by allowing him to help me. Isaac came back to my house every weekend after that. He could be standing at the patio when I woke up. He would ask me if it was a packing or a fishing day. The third time he did this, I told him to leave. He begged me to allow him to help me. I told him that I had no time for friends. I appreciated his help, but I could not pay him. "Your company is payment enough. Let me, please," he begged me. I rolled my eyes and told him to come. As the weeks rolled on, we settled into this routine. I had to stop asking him to not show up. I knew he would show up. I tried to change the time I woke up, but he would go to where I docked my boat and find out where I was for the day. When I came back, he would be waiting. Isaac would then say that since he could not fish, he could do the prep. This meant that he stayed till late. The first few nights, I let him go home. I did not want him to think it was okay to sleep at my house. After that, I decided it was best to give him a schedule so he did not have to walk home late. Isaac was a very inquisitive and talkative person. He could talk for the whole country. He often surprised me with his ability to retain anything that I told him. Soon, we were working intuitively. A friendship started to form. He still annoyed me a bit, but I did not mind him as much. It made me wonder why Isaac came back every single time. One Friday morning, I woke up and had a call with my mom. After confirming that she received money from me, I decided to do some admin. As this was happening, I got a call. It was from a person who wanted to buy my fish in bulk. He wanted a very large order and was willing to pay a lot. He told me he tasted my fish and felt it was one of the best. So I asked him where he got it. "Your friend Isaac told me about it. I know you are just a small-time fisherman, but you are good at what you do. Would you like to work with me?" the man on the other side asked. Of course, I said yes, because I was over the moon. I then looked for the piece of paper that Isaac had left me and sent him a text. "Hey, thank you so much for what you did for me. I did not expect you to. It has been a while since I had a true friend." I sent the message. I did not get an immediate response, so I went about with my day. The next day, Isaac sent me a location in the morning. He asked if I could meet him there because he could not make it to my side. I decided to see him for a while. He had become such a part of my weekend routine that not seeing him was strange. I met Isaac in the parking lot of a drive-by takeaway. He looked very smart but casual. He also seemed a bit nervous. When I sat down next to him in the car, he exhaled. "Hey, Are you good? I asked him. Yes, I am. I just wanted to ask you something. I don't know how you will feel about this, but I wanted to take a shot. He smiled shyly. He looked down at his hands, which were shaking. Instinctively, I held his hand tightly in mine. It's just me. Breathe. Did something happen at home? My voice cracked with worry. He let go of my hand abruptly and then leaned over his steering wheel. His hair fell over in a swoop, part of it catching the light. I wanted to ask you if you are in a relationship. He blurted that out so fast he was almost incoherent. My heart started beating faster at his question. Haha, funny. Why would you care about that? I asked him. What I did not tell him was that I was nervous being around him. I felt the air shift in the car, indicating that he was about to reveal something out of the ordinary to me. I cannot stop thinking about how your lips felt when you brought me back to life, he confessed. I looked at him up and down, stifling my need to exclaim. I remembered that day vividly. Wow, now I see why you would not leave me alone. Now I see why you are trying to help. I hesitantly made sense of his intentions. His eyes turned a bit glassy, but he never rebuked my deductions. My whole body stiffened as I realized what was going on here. I put my door on the handle and tried to open it, but it did not budge. Wait, I will open the door for you. Do not panic. My deepest apologies for alarming you. I just wanted to let you know that I am attracted to you, but I do understand if you are not attracted to me. It was not that I was not attracted to him. Looking at him, I was always thrown aback by how handsome he was. The only problem was that I did not have time. I explained to him exactly that. I see. So, no chance. Isaac looked down sadly. I have not had a relationship in a long time. I just don't think it would work out, I confessed. Isaac looked at me like I was crazy. He then went on for about a minute telling me all the reasons why we could be good together. As he spoke, I was reminded of all the moments that we shared in the past few weeks. Every time I needed something, he was there for me. He never failed to show up at the right time. I did all that because I was attracted to you the first day we met, and I just wanted to spend time with you, he concluded by saying. Can I have time to think about this? I spoke. Could you eat while you think? Isaac suggested with a smile. I could eat, and who could say no to free food? We ordered our food and stayed in his car for the rest of the afternoon. It was the first time we spent with each other when we did not have to work. We just talked and made jokes about the most random things. By the time I went home, my cheeks were sore from smiling. Even though I could not be his lover, I knew I could be his friend. I liked that he respected that and did not pressure me. It was not that I was not attracted to him, I just had so much on my plate. I felt that I needed to sort that out, so I had a chance to explore things with him. 2.5 months later. A smile lit up on my face when I saw the money getting into my account. Finally, I was not an overdraft anymore. Even after paying my new employee, I would be sorted. Immediately, I called Isaac and invited him to have some burgers with me at this quiet little place in town. He agreed and told me he would meet me there. When I got there, I could not stop staring at him. Something was different about him. I tried to guess what it was, but failed. Oh my God, I am starving. It was a long day, Isaac exclaimed as he went through the menu. Isaac then proceeded to tell me about his long stay at home. I think I'm going to move out. My sister is not normal. Her temper is bad and she is always using me as a punching bag. I find any excuse to be out of the house so she will leave me alone. Honestly, I was staying with her because no one else can deal with her temper. She can get too much sometimes. I also did not want to be alone, but now I am done, he announced and munched the burger. I am so proud of you for doing this. Do you know where you're going to move to? Will it be far? I asked, feigning nonchalance. Inside, I was hoping he would not go too far. Why? Will you miss me? Isaac's eyes looked bright. I noticed the shell necklace on him. "You have it on. It looks amazing on you." My smile filled my whole face as I thought of all the ways in which he had lit up my life. "Are you going far?" I asked again, after a while of looking at him. "I am still deciding." He bit his lip as he said this. "I've been thinking about what you said all those months ago," I began. I had been unable to stop the little crush that started blossoming way before I acknowledged it. Now, I was unsure if I would have more time with him. "Please, go ahead and let me know what you need, Ollie," he grinned. I felt more prepared since he calmed me down, so I decided to try and arrange the words that were in my head in a logical way. "I wish that we could go on a date. I feel that I am in a better place now financially. I do still like you and would like to see how things go." The stutter in my voice gave away how nervous I was. Isaac looked at me for a moment with a serious expression on his face. Then he smiled and said, "As long as we go to a place with an atmosphere as good as this." That was enough for me to plan the perfect date. 2 weeks later. It had been 2 years since my last relationship. I did not even know how to act on a date. I did my best and hoped it would be good enough. Isaac was a person who enjoyed learning about new things, so I decided to book us a pottery painting class. The things were already made, we just needed to paint them. I wanted us to do something fun, but still have some alone time. I also liked the fact that there was no pressure when it came to dressing. I hated dressing in a fancy way. The lady who was hosting the classes led us to our station, gave us our supplies, and we got to it. We had a casual conversation as this happened. I was a bit nervous, so I did not speak much. The only thing I could do was to ask him questions. Some of the questions I asked were, where did he see himself in 5 years? What were his political views? Did he prefer the city over the seaside? What did he love about his career and whether he wants kids? His answers to that would determine how we got along. We agreed on half of those things, and I was not sure if we would work out when suddenly Isaac put his brush down, dipped his hand in paint, and touched me. I stopped ranting about the thing I was ranting about and stared at him now, puzzled. "It is so on," a devilish grin split my face. I too did the same and touched his cheek. We gazed at each other and burst out laughing. "I am happy to see you smiling. I was thinking that the date was boring you," he said, sounding earnest. "Not at all. I just feel as if we don't agree on half of the things," I confessed. "Is that a deal breaker, or do you need to find out more?" I trailed my hand to his luscious lips. I had been thinking about them for a while now and how they must feel. "More," I whispered. A force unknown to me drew me onto his lips and I stole a kiss. The kiss was short, but lingered on my lips for the rest of the date. It made me forget all those questions I had for him. He did not have to be perfect. I was far from it, and he was still able to be attracted to me. That made me realize that I had been judgmental from the start. I did not want to do that. I wanted to explore this, especially since he was moving to a house close to where I lived. He finally got it so that he could get away from his sister. He found that spending time with me helped him to realize that she was treating him badly. At the end of the date, we went to my house where I made us coffee. Afterwards, we put on a movie and then sat in silence. My hand was on his as we watched it. A small smile was on my face the whole time. I did not want to jump to conclusions, but it felt like this was the start of something new and beautiful. We went on more dates afterwards and got to know each other more. He moved so he could be closer to me, which made things easier. In addition to that, my business continued to thrive. It allowed me to take better care of my family, and I was grateful to him for that. The end. Has anyone ever saved your life, figuratively or literally? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.